Okay, good morning, everybody. Refer to our disclaimer that is on the presentation on the website as we are public, and we'll get into it. So Collagen Solutions, right off the bat, the interesting investment proposal here is, first of all, we're in a very high-growth biomaterials market. It's driven both by natural demographics of the patient population globally and innovation that is happening in a field we call regenerative medicine, in which biomaterials is a key part of. Collagen Solutions specifically is very well positioned for growth. We've been working hard over the last few years building a management team, investing in programs. We've made a tremendous amount of progress here in the last few years. And then finally, as I said, is the management team. We do have an experienced management team with multiple exits, global basis of management, and quite some bigger companies as well that we've put together and just finalized over this past year. So let's talk a little bit about what are the drivers. So first of all, demographics are driving demand. What's interesting is by 2030, there'll be about 1 billion people over the age of 65, and that cohort is growing at 5 times the rate of the rest of the world's population, and actually more dramatically in first world countries, we should say. And with that aging population is expectations for improved quality of life, but also an improved or an increased incidence of chronic disease. So we're both having to keep these patients healthier with the increased disease, as well as demands of a better lifestyle. So how is the industry addressing that? How are we addressing that? Well, with innovation within biomaterials and regenerative medicine, we're seeing advancements in arthritis, in spine surgery, in treatments for wounds related to diabetes, cardiac disease and heart valves, and then also dental procedures. These are all challenges that regenerative medicine and biomaterials are meant to address. So Collagen Solutions specifically, we're an enabler with our biomaterials in a number of these diseases and treatments. Basically, our products are used to restore function and structure of damaged tissues and organs. And I'll get into some examples of what that is. So on the cardiovascular side, we provide some of the basic tissues for minimally invasive heart valves, some what was represented in the presentation earlier. In orthopedics, whether it be cartilage or bone scaffolds, our raw materials and our production are used to make those devices. In dental, a number of collagen products as well as wounds. And then finally, in the basic research, collagen and tissues are used as substrate to carry out some of these advanced research that translates ultimately into clinical therapies. So these are all end markets that we're serving today. These are revenues that we're generating today. So our business model is to take these tissues and raw materials, and what we've been doing over the past few years is moving up the value chain from raw material supply more into development and then contract manufacturing. We've been broadening our offering of tissue products as well, and we're expanding globally with presence in North America and the U.S. We serve Europe out of the U.K., and we have a direct presence in South Korea and a recent partnership in China. So that's 100% of our revenue today. What we're going into is more proprietary products. So we're taking our know-how and we're taking our biomaterials and we're developing products in orthopedics, wounds, and spine. And our lead product in orthopedics is a product called Chondro Mimetic that I'll get into a little bit more depth for cartilage regeneration in knee arthritis. So finally covering out our core business, we have been growing, and specifically we've been growing in our new customer acquisition. You can see the plot on the left there is our number of new accounts that has been accelerating in every 6-month reporting period. Just this last 6-month period, we reported a record of 9 new accounts. Our mix of development, and that's a leading indicator of moving up the value chain. So we've moved from largely being a raw material supplier in 2017 with now about half of our revenue coming out of development, which will then translate into contract manufacturing, moving up the value chain with better margins. And we are quite diverse with most of our revenue coming out of North America, secondarily out of Asia Pacific, mostly South Korea at this point, but moving into China. And then the rest, we were seeing Europe grow quite a bit as well. We just did report recently 13% growth on our same period, 6 months prior year, and we will be presenting our full financial results early next month. So that's a little bit about our core business. Again, that's 100% of our revenue today. Tomorrow, we'll be moving in specifically into proprietary products, with a lead product being our Chondro Mimetic cartilage scaffold. We also have a proprietary product in the bone grafting space, and then a program in wound healing. And I'll focus right now on Chondro Mimetic, which is our nearest term product. So Chondro Mimetic is a scaffold for regenerating knee cartilage. It's done arthroscopically, or known as keyhole surgery, minimally invasive. It's a single surgery, which is very cost-effective. And importantly, because this was the subject of an earlier clinical trial, we'll be able to launch with 8 years of clinical data, which is phenomenal for this space. So just to give a little bit of background as how does knee cartilage disease progress and where do we fit in? So starting with healthy cartilage there on the left, you get early arthritis or osteoarthritis with small defects that can progress to later stage arthritis, which may progress to a metal and plastic total knee replacement, and then finally a revision. So that's the progression, and what we're trying to do is fit in very early stage to prevent that progression into late arthritis. So if we take away the total knee replacements, the metal and plastic, before you get there, there's about 1 million procedures done globally to treat early arthritis. And we believe that with Chondro Mimetic, we can at least address about roughly 1/3 of those procedures. Now, how we're going to differentiate is we're looking for that sweet spot of being cost-effective, having long-term durability, and ease of use. From a cost-effectivity point of view, our therapy will cost about 10% of some of the more advanced cell therapy procedures. It will be backed by 8 years of clinical data, which will demonstrate long-term durability. And then finally, this fits very well into the surgeon's current practice of techniques they already know with a single surgery as opposed to a 2-stage technique. Talking a little bit more about the clinical data, first of all, we looked at fill. So how well did the scaffold fill in the defect? And what we saw across our patient population was between 90 and 100% of the actual defect was filled, and it was very consistent, you can see there, with an average of 95. So very good cartilage fill across all patients, sustained over 8 years. Now, importantly, it's not just how much was filled, but how good is the generation of the tissue. There's a technique called T2 mapping, which can tell the quality of, are we regrowing normal cartilage or is this scar tissue? And what we found is over time, this converged to cartilage that was indistinguishable from native cartilage. So the green line on the bottom is the native control, and the blue line is what it converged to over time. So this is a very significant technique. There's nothing in the literature, to our knowledge, that comes even close to this quality of cartilage. And then finally, how does that translate into clinical results? Well, what we saw is over 8 years, it had a very good early improvement, but it was sustained over 8 years. So even with the patient aging over time, we saw very, very good clinical results, and that's in the excellent range in that green area. Also important is we were interested, so we took a look at some of the clinical scores and some of the subsets against these cell therapies that can cost anywhere from 5 to 10 times as much. And we saw that in every subscale, we performed equal to or better than these more expensive procedures. So again, it's targeted for about 1/3 of the arthritis treatments there. So there are a niche for the cell treatments, but the niche that we're targeting, we're finding outstanding clinical results that are sustained over 8 years. So very exciting data. We're looking forward to getting this launched. We have applied for the CE mark. We're submitting just a little bit more data, and we do expect that soon for our European launch. We have already partnered this in South Korea, and we will be submitting those submissions. And then finally, we're in discussion with many partners in Europe and Asia, distribution partners, to launch this. In the US, it would require a PMA, so we would have to partner that given the time and expense, but we see a lot of market opportunity in the markets that we've already targeted. So that's a little bit about the company and the data and what we're doing. It can't be done without a team that has been working very hard. Hillary, our CFO, is in the room, and she was a recent joiner here this year. Another highlight is Lou Ruggiero, our Chief Commercial Officer, joined us earlier in the year, but supported by a team with decades of med tech as well as collagen-specific experience. We're also supported by a great board that has been supporting us over the years. David Evans is our chairman, and I would like to point out Chris Brinsmead, formerly of president of AstraZeneca UK division, actually here in the room joining us, did join us here recently. So a very supportive board of directors to get us where we're going. So to date, we've had some good progress here over the last 6 months that we've reported out. We've had solid commercial execution with 13% growth, 9 new customers. As a next step, we plan on continuing that and deliver our financial results. We did sign 2 new partners in China, and we are on track to grow that customer base in China and grow out that Asia-Pacific market. We recently established a tissue business unit to expand our opportunity within the tissue base, and we do intend to grow that over the next 6 months. And then finally, we have made good progress with our proprietary products, getting through our audit with our notified body, and our intention is to achieve our CE mark and get first in man here over the next period. So in summary, it's a great market. We are very well positioned with a management team that has had success in medtech, multiple successes. We can plan to continue that growth in the core business, which will provide a near-term path to profitability. And then there's significant upside, not just with Chondro and Mimetic, with our other products that are behind in the pipeline that will be coming shortly. So with that, I'll just close with our vision. We do want to be the industry's first choice for generative biomaterials. We think it's a very exciting market, and we are continuing to grow in that space. So with that, I will close and take any questions that anyone may have.